Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday night edition of the Football Diehards live show. I am Armando Marsal, and with me is Bobby Gomes. How's it going, Bobby? I know you're going to the game tonight, man.
Yeah, going the game. Just down the street in Foxborough. Ready to rock and roll, I guess.
It's going to be a fun one, man. I think you're in for a blowout. I do think New England's going to have a field day with the Colts. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries here. T.Y. Hilton's not playing. Marlon Mack is not playing. Jack Doyle's not playing. So it's pretty interesting here on this Thursday night slate on how this is going to be treated. I do think we're going to see a lot of Julian Edelman today. What do you feel? How are you approaching this game? Are you playing the Thursday night slate, being that you're going to the game?
I'm going to be playing the slate. I like Julian. I have him in the majority of my showdown lineups. Kind of like Sony Michel. I've had a little Pats running backs versus the Colts. So
I know you have. So I listen. I have 100% Michel right now. Actually, I do think that's a strong play. So I'm with you, man.
Yeah, the spread indicates that he should be in line for some work. So kind of interested in getting him in there. He's kind of the cheapest guy. I also think you use the Pats defense in the captain spot to kind of differentiate yourself.
I like that idea because I do think that they're a sneaky defense. I don't think anyone's going to be going in that direction. And it just makes a ton of sense when you look at this Colts offense. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. And they're pretty thin right now, at receiver, at running back. And, I mean, at tight end, they're fine. And Hines is, in my opinion, a pretty solid option. And I think it's going to be a perfectly fit for this game script tonight. But I don't see where the Colts are going to produce a ton of points. So I do have concerns for that offense in tonight's game. Yeah, man. I mean, so you're excited about this game. How much Tom Brady do you have? Because I think, what I'm hoping for is Tom Brady to Julian Edelman, get it going, get a ton of points up, and then just give it to Michel the rest of the evening. Let Michel do the rest of the work. I'm hoping second half Michel, and the first half it's Tom Brady and Julian Edelman. Because that's right now, those are the three Patriots players that I'm very, very bullish on in tonight's slate.
Yeah, no, I like Michel. Like you hit on Tom Brady, hit on Edelman. T.Y. sitting, right?
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, and not that it matters, but Marlon Mack is out for tonight's game.
So I think you have to include some Colts players, and probably my thing was to use the Pats defense and then try to get a stack in there if I could. Maybe multiple stacks if you can fit. Just looking at it now, be nice to get Pats defense and then Brady and Luck with Chester Rogers.
Yeah, I like the Chester Rogers call. I think Ebrom's strong too. What are your thoughts here on Ryan Grant? I think he offers a pretty safe floor. 7 targets last week. 9 targets in week 1. Someone that has done relatively good compared to what expectations here. Double-digit DraftKings points in all but 1 game this season. Any thoughts on him? He's 6,200 here in the showdown.
I like Ryan Grant a lot. I think he's a solid play. Just because of the target volume. I know in week 2 he came off the 9 and then had a goose egg, so kind of a little afraid of going to him. But obviously it's a 1-game slate. I have no issues with rostering Ryan Grant.
I'm digging deep in this game because I do think that it's going to be a lopsided game. So I'm kind of looking for someone that could make a difference. And I came across someone called Marcus Johnson, 3 targets last week. He is a measly $400 here salary-wise. And this is just me digging deep because they're thin at receiver. Are you going to go this far down in pricing, or are you staying away from this range?
I don't think that's a terrible idea, to be honest.
Because I could do that and fit in both Luck and Brady while having someone like Edelman in my captain spot and still have plenty of upside, throughout the rest of my lineup. So I think if he gives you, 10 fantasy points tonight, I think there is a potential to win here. He played again, he is very risky. He played in 21% of the offensive snaps last week, which was a season high for him once T.Y. Hilton was out. So something worth noting, I guess. And he did get.
Do we know who, in terms of matchup, who he's going to see?
No, but I can always look that up. He might not even. He's not even on there because he's on the depth chart, quote unquote. He's fourth receiver, so I don't think that they provide that information for the fourth receiver here. Huh?
Who's Ty going to see? Stephen Gilmore?
Well, no, Ty is not playing.
No, but if he play.
I don't know. We have Chester Jones is seeing. Chester Rogers is seeing Jonathan Jones. Ryan Grant is seeing Stephon Gilmore, and the other receiver here for the Colts, I'll tell you who he's going to see now, if they even have him here, because it is Pascal. Let me see if there's anyone here for him. He actually has Jason McCourty. So
he is Jason McCourty?
Yeah.
All right.
No, so, and last week, just so for perspective here, so Chester Rogers played in 80% of the snaps. Ryan Grant played in 79% of the snaps. Zach Pascal, 49% of the snaps. Marcus Johnson in 21% of the snaps. This is meanwhile, Hilton did play in 48% of the offensive snaps here. So it is information, kind of skewed because Hilton was in for basically half of the offensive snaps here before he went down with the injury. So I do think we could see Marcus Johnson again, anywhere between 30 and 40% of the snaps today, and if he gets 5 to 6 targets, I just think at 400 could definitely pay that off.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he could too, especially with the usage bump. I like using. Obviously, the Patriots secondary has been suspect, so I'm not if you're gonna. If you have Stephen Gilmore on Ryan Grant, I feel like it's a good way to differentiate yourself and go to Rodgers or go to the Marcus Johnson if you're trying to stack things up and be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. And now, who do you think is going to be more popular? Because this is kind of the battle I've been dealing with. And I know with one game slates, it's just different. The ownership is kind of tough to predict, obviously, but who do you think is going to be more popular between Grant or Rodgers here tonight?
I would say Rodgers. Correct.
You think so?
Yeah,
because that's what I've been trying to figure out all basically all day. Just
Rodgers is a pretty good player, I think.
I think so too. I think he's a strong player actually. What are you doing with guys like Gronkowski, who's questionable? It looks like he's going to play, dealing with an ankle injury. It's not a bad matchup for him, but I just don't know if it's worth the risk. What are your thoughts there?
If he's playing, I'm playing him. Just because of his usage output. Okay. I think that's what you always need to consider. And his is pretty consistent. He's obviously going to be chalky. I wouldn't shy away from him though.
Okay. And how about someone like James White, who's been, pretty much clutch every week? Here in another good matchup, do you think Edelman? And I know it sounds silly because Edelman's a receiver and James White's a running back, but a lot of James White's production comes from the passing game. Do you think Edelman returning kind of hampers what White has been doing?
I definitely think it'll cut into it. That's definitely not a bad way to think about it. I think he will definitely cut into White's usage.
Yeah, I agree. Are you considering White this week, or is it just strictly Michelle for you?
I'm only making 5 lineups, doing them right now. I don't think White's going to be in them though, because I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough. I'm not running many lineups now. I'm running about 4, and it's just, to me, excuse me, it makes more sense to have Michelle here. So, what other thoughts do you have on this game? Ebron is finding the majority of my lineups just because I do think there's so much upside there with him. What are your thoughts on him tonight?
No, yeah, I think Ebron's in a great spot. I have him stacked in the tight end on the Monday, Thursday. I like Ebron a lot tonight.
Yeah, I think the usage is going to be through the roof this evening. So it's just a good spot here for him. Last guy I want to talk about here is Neon Himes. What are you doing there? I really like this spot for him.
I like Hines. He burned me in week 3, and then I didn't use him in week 4. Kind of don't want to be late to the party this week, but I feel like it's not like the worst play. They're going to be down. He's pass catching running back, max out. I don't hate Hines at all.
Yeah, I just think it's I don't know. I just feel like it's a really, really strong spot for him just because of the game script. It really does play into his favor here. So I don't know. I have plenty of interest there in him. And when you look at his involvement so far in the passing game, 11 targets last week, 5 targets the week before, only 1 in week 2, but 9 in week 1. So a game where I think that, he should be heavily involved here. He is leading all the running backs in this backfield in snaps. So I expect him to be on the field quite a bit today. I like him. I think he's affordable. I think there's plenty of upside to be had there. And we saw what kind of production he can have. Last week, 9 catches, 63 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm not predicting the same, but this is a young running back here that has already found the end zone 3 times this season and has at least 5 catches in 3 of the 4 games. So I do think there's a nice little floor here and plenty of upside. So I like him quite a bit here, and I think he doesn't absorb too much of that salary cap, especially if you're trying to get creative with the captain's spot here.
No, I'm with you. It's just trying to differentiate in the captain spot. It makes sense. Like if the game script favors like him and the Pats if the Pats have the lead, he's going to get those dump off passes. You have Andrew Luck not really being able to throw the ball that far. He only has Eric Ebron as his short target. So I think a lot of the usage will be directed to Hines.
Yeah, and the Patriots are 10.5-point favorites here, so it's worth noting that, that Colts should be playing, from behind. So definitely think it's a really good spot for him here. Any other thoughts in this game? Any kickers, any other players we haven't touched base on just yet that you're kind of thinking of sneaking in here?
You could think about Vinatieri. I wouldn't really go the other way.
Yeah, I think Patriots are just going to score touchdowns, man. I don't think they're going to be kicking field goals tonight. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good one. I hope you enjoy that game. I hope being there really brings all the Michelle good vibes, because I am 100% all in on him tonight. Hoping that pans out. I think it's a perfect situation for him. So before we move on to kind of looking into the weekend, any final thoughts here in this game, Bobby?
Is Josh Gordon playing?
I believe he is questionable. I don't think there's been an official word on him just yet. Let me double check. But last I checked, he was still questionable. All right, so I have here Gronkowski's officially active. Something worth noting, Robert Turbin is coming back this week. He's active against the Patriots. I don't think this is a game for him. I just don't see how they're going to be in this game at all. If you do think that, the Colts, for whatever reason, is going to be close to the Patriots here, then maybe you want to think about someone like Robert Turbin. But realistically, I just don't think that's going to be the case here. But Rob Gronkowski is officially active, and I'm not seeing anything on Gordon just yet. But the inactives for the Patriots, okay. So Gordon is active based on the inactive list for the Patriots. He's not on it, so he's a go. I don't know I really don't know what the situation is, how much they're going to use him or anything, because there's no news on that. But I think they're going to play him. Tonight, I just really think they're going to focus on Edelman pretty much the entire evening. That's my thing. It's very tough for me to play anyone outside of Edelman.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like Edelman a lot.
Gordon being active, Gronk being active, it really does not change my approach tonight. I'm not going to let that, I'm not going to let that force me to tinker with my lineup right now. I just really feel that they really want Edelman to be heavily involved tonight. They've been saying how they're excited to have him back. He's, a big locker room guy. He and Brady have a very strong connection. We've seen it year in and year out. He knows his offense really well, so I'm not concerned about him being out, the first 4 weeks. To me, that really doesn't matter. Do you have any concerns about him being out? Because I know there are some people that, have that tentativeness with him because of that, but I don't think that plays a role. It's not like he's coming back from an injury or anything like that.
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something to worry about.
All right, so I think we've covered this game pretty well here. The weekend we're gonna record our podcast tomorrow because you know what, you got tickets to tonight's game, so it's only right for you to be there cheering on the Patriots, knowing that we're both pretty heavy invested on the Patriots tonight. So we need that good vibes at the stadium. Absolutely, you're gonna be in the suite if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
There you go, man. I mean, enjoy it. You and I will record the podcast tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that because we're going to go game by game. But some games that, stand out to me this weekend, I think it'd be silly not to start off with the Atlanta Falcons in Pittsburgh. It's now a 58 over-under. It's moved 1.5 since it opened at 56.5 points. The Steelers have an implied team total of 30.5. The Falcons have a 27.5 implied team total. This just has shootout written all over it. What are your thoughts here on this game? Because this is one of those contests that I think I'm going to be overweight on and have a ton of exposure to.
No, I'm with you. AB, Juju, they're at home. Julio.
I'm calling it. Jones is scoring his first touchdown of the season this weekend. And I think he's going to make up for the first 4 weeks this weekend. And he's had 2 really strong games without getting in the end zone. So guy leads in air yards by a pretty decent amount too. I think he's over 700 in air yards already. It's only a matter of time. I expect positive regression as far as the touchdown department is concerned. I'm expecting regression from Ridley. So I'm not sitting here. It's not a hot take. It's not a bold prediction, but I really think this is one of those games where Julio Jones could find the end zone twice. I really do, and I think he's fairly priced. I think a lot of people are going to be playing Calvin Ridley this weekend because he is very affordable, and I think this is a time and a place where I'm going to be much heavier invested in someone like Julio Jones.
Yeah, no, I think this is the Julio Jones smash spot. It has to be.
Yeah, well, if it's not this week, it might not happen all season, Although he does play the Bucks, and he does get the Saints again and stuff like that. So it's still a possibility, but still, this is just a great spot for him. A potential shootout here. Both defenses have struggled, so I expect both quarterbacks to throw a ton. We're expecting Devontae Freeman back this week, so I'm not touching the running backs here for Atlanta. Any thoughts here on the quarterbacks? I have them in season-long leagues. I have them ranked 1 and 2 this week. I just think that this is going to be a back-and-forth game with plenty of scoring.
No, yeah, I like both of them. I think Roethlisberger is a little priced up. Matt Ryan, I always have issues with Matt Ryan. I never pick him right. He's outdoors. I think it's like it's definitely a difference maker for him. I don't know how drastic the splits are, but I feel like every time I've rostered him outdoors, I haven't got kind of the return I wanted. So basically, he's kind of priced up too. If I had to pick one, I'd go Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I mean, if you're picking between 2, I think that makes sense. He is at home. But I think it's an excellent point that you make because if you look at Matt Ryan's numbers this season, he started off the year with 9.8 fantasy point production or performance, and that was on the road in outdoor game against an Eagles defense that, it is a strong defense, but they don't look that good this year. And their passing game is a little suspect. So he struggled there, and then he's been lights out in the last 2 games, but they've been 3 consecutive home games here. I'm going to check here at this, the splits here, but when you look at it, he's had, I mean, he's performed much better at home than he has on the road in equal games. His averages are just a little bit better. He has a higher completion percentage, has thrown a couple more touchdowns, but fewer interceptions here at home. So it is worth noting that, I think you pointed something out. I don't think it's as strong as a Big Ben or a Drew Brees home road split, but I do think it's something worth noting because he does tend to play a little bit better indoors here. How about James Conner? He's been struggling lately quite a bit. He's 7,500. I don't know. I don't know ownership for him. I don't think it's going to be that high. But this is a really, really good spot. He's still heavily involved in the passing game here. I think he's averaging 6 targets per game. We know Atlanta struggles against pass catching backs. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they've allowed the most receptions to the position. And they just have trouble, with pass catching backs. 310 receiving yards to running backs, 42 receptions, allowing over 35 fantasy points per game here. Give me your thoughts on Conner in a game script that I do think will favor him.
I'm not heavily looking at Conner as of right now, just because I think there's better value down the board.
No, that's what I was going to ask. Is it because the value at the position, or is it because you just don't like this situation or what you've seen from him? I know he's struggled ever since week 1. He's just been downhill. I think he started off the season with almost 40 fantasy points, and he went 19. I think 14 or 13, and then if I'm not mistaken, it was single digits last week. I don't have it in front of me, but I can look. However, I do agree. I do think there are better, situations and better prices for the running back. In fact, I find myself paying up a lot more this week for wide receivers than I am for running backs.
Yeah, I think he's pretty priced up. This could change, though. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at the list now. As of right now, I'm not really considering him, but it could change by Sunday morning.
Now, who are your core? Yeah, we'll talk about it Sunday morning. We do the Sunday morning show every week, so we'll have live, up-to-date news, and we'll have all the information needed to make the final best decisions here. So I know you're going to be bullish on this game like myself. Who are your core plays here?
Julio and Antonio Brown. Juju.
Okay. Now, are you going to prioritize these quarterbacks, or are you going elsewhere in quarterbacks and just focusing on?
Tough question. Maybe Ben.
Because I have a couple other quarterbacks I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I have a couple other quarterbacks I like too. That's why I was. But no, I'd rather just get the ancillary pieces in this game, just to have exposure to this game, and maybe go the other way in terms of my quarterback exposure.
Now, is the quarterback you're referring to, is he and we're going to disclose it obviously, but is he up in price as well, or is he a little bit lower priced? Because I love Phillip Rivers, and he's in between these two guys as far as price range. I believe he's literally right in between them. I think it's Big Ben, Rivers, and then Matt Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, as far as pricing is concerned. I might be wrong there, but I think that's how it is. I like Rivers a ton this week, and I think you can easily fit him in and still get a really good exposure to this Pittsburgh-Atlanta game. What are your thoughts there on Rivers? Is he one of the guys you were alluding to?
No, I like him. Yeah, he's in the pool. There's another guy that I think is really interesting.
Talk to me.
And he's right below Matt Ryan.
Right below
Jared Goff at Seattle.
I like that call. I actually like that call. He showed us all last week. I think it was against the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, where he just it doesn't matter who he's playing, man. It really doesn't matter. There's so many weapons on this offense. It's a really, really, really good situation here for the Rams offense, just because for Jared Goff, because when you got receivers like Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and then you got a running back like Todd Gurley. It's really tough to fail in that situation. I mean, you have to be really bad to fail, regardless of the matchup. So I think he's going to go completely overlooked, and I love that call. Now, if you're stacking him, who is it going to be with? Because I just think it's Cooper Kupp all day.
Stack the whole team.
So you're basically going all in here. Wow.
I love the Rams. I still think people have that bias towards Seattle, and I just don't think Seattle's that great.
All right.
What
are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on someone like Blake Bortles? I don't think I have enough Blake Bortles this weekend. It's a good matchup, and I think it's a great situation because Fournette's not playing, so I think they're going to allow him to sling it. Problem is just who the hell do you pair him up with? I mean, D.D. Westbrook, Keenan Cole, Dante Moncrief. If I'm choosing between any of these guys, it'd probably be D.D. Westbrook. But the problem is, it's just so unpredictable, and I want to play T.J. Yeldon because I do think this is a really good spot for T.J. Yeldon at the price tag that he's at. I think that's one of the best value plays. He's not like super, super value, but I think point per dollar. I guess that's the better terminology there. Point per dollar, I think he's one of the better plays on the slate because he's going to receive the bulk of the carries. I don't think game script will affect him in any way, shape, or form because he can catch passes out of the backfield. And he's going to run between the tackles if they're playing with a lead. So I do like him a ton, which is probably why I'm not playing a ton of Bortles this weekend. But what are your thoughts there in this situation against a really bad Chiefs defense?
No, yeah, I like Bortles. He's going to have to throw it seems like. So Yeldon definitely comes into play. DD has the air yards, but I like Moncrief. I don't know who he gets in terms of his matchup. They seem like they're kind of gaining a nice rapport, and Keelan Cole is like his guy, so I don't know. You can go a bunch of different ways.
Moncrief got to Orlando Scandrick. The one I believe that has the best matchup of the bunch, if I'm not mistaken, it's D.D. Westbrook against Kendall Fuller. According to Pro Football Focus, he has a 32% advantage rating, one of the highest of the week. Not mistaken.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man. You're good. You got me? You hear me?
I just lost you. One sec.
Do you hear me there?
No, I think you went out for a second.
So I would say D.D. Westbrook has it's Kendall Fuller here. What are your thoughts there? He has a 32% advantage rating on Pro Football Focus.
No, I like D. Yeah, I think that's a good play. I like this offense. You got to figure. Honestly, I like the other side, Mahomes.
Do you really? Man,
yeah.
The kid's been. I mean, just phenomenal. But this is where I draw the line. This is a really, really strong Jacksonville Jaguars defense. They're allowing only 164 passing yards per game. Very, very tough here for him. I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you think he's going to be like completely unowned? Because if that's the case, and there is some merit to playing him in tournaments.
See, last year there was a similar situation. Jimmy G. I know he's kind of been my guy, and he's kind of burned me week by week. But he went into Jacksonville, and he kind of went off. So and if you just played him and just bit the bullet, like you would have been fine, So I don't mind. Like, I think that offense is so powerful. Like, I don't think I don't know. You can have exposure to them. I feel like.
Okay.
Just so great. They're so explosive. Like, I don't know. Eli Manning threw what could have been if Eli had hit Odell week 1, he would have beat Jalen Ramsey for 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So if I get Tyreek in a similar situation, he's going to have low ownership, like with a guy who isn't going to underthrow or overthrow his receiver because he just can't. You know what I mean? I really like the spot for a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to disagree there, and especially how good he's been this season. I don't know if I'm going to build enough lineups for that, to be honest with you. But
they're at Kansas City, right?
I'm sorry,
they're not even in Jacksonville. They have a 26 implied team total. Like, I wouldn't be afraid at getting them at depressed ownership to play them in tournaments. I'm not saying like start them in cash, but if you're going to get them at depressed ownership in tournaments, like they're obviously a very high-powered offense.
Yeah, I'm battling the cold here, so bear with me. But yeah, I agree because there's so much upside there in tournaments, like we've seen. So I agree with you there. I don't see how you can go wrong in tournaments of playing him. Any other thoughts on that game? Anyone else?
Well, you could go very wrong, but no, yeah, I like Kelsey too.
And I think that's a strong play there. I really do because
yeah.
He's just a target monster here. He really is. Can I interest you in any Josh Rosen this week?
I don't hate Josh Rosen.
I
cheap, right?
Right now I have him as one of my guys in my player pool. I'm terrified, but he's 4,700. It's a really, really bad San Francisco defense. The secondary's really, really bad. They're 23rd in DVOA against the pass. They've allowed 11 passing touchdowns, which is tied for third most. So I really do think this is a spot where Rosen could have a nice game. And you don't need a ton of production from him to pay off that salary, I think. I really don't, think it's necessary to have a huge explosive game. Pairing him up with someone like Ricky Seals-Jones or even Christian Kirk, you're going to have so much money left on the table to really pay up for some of the guys we mentioned, like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. I'm very fond of Melvin Gordon this week. I know that's not your guy. I know that's not the way you go. That's not the way you roll, but I really am fond of him. I'm fond of Keenan Allen in that game as well. I really think you could build a very strong roster with a Josh Rosen and Ricky Seals-Jones or Kirk stack here. What are your thoughts there? I mean, you play much more lineups than I do, but this is a week where last week we talked about Trubisky quite a bit. I actually rolled him up. I didn't play him just because I don't build a ton of lineups. I don't want to make the same mistake this week. I really do think Rosen at that price tag can have a pretty strong game.
Man, that Trubisky stack, I had the nut stack all week. Him, Taylor Gabriel, and
moved off of Trubisky.
No, I played them. I just didn't play enough of it. Like I had a good amount. I had 2 lineups in the top 20 in the Millionaire Maker.
Wow,
for like the good portion at the end of the day. Yeah, I think I topped out at 11th and 13th and 11th or something like that. 12th and 11th. So I don't know. I had that stack and then I just had Kenyon Drake and it was like a night. Yeah.
I actually had a friend of mine. He was winning the Millionaire Maker throughout pretty much the end of the fourth quarter of one of the final games. He moved from first to 8th place, I think it was.
That's like,
and the same thing happened to him last year. He was winning the $1 million. He ended up moving from first to 2nd place. So it's twice already it's happened to him. Got a sting, man. But yeah, that was we talked about Taylor Gabriel quite a bit, on Sunday. Last Sunday, we in the live show we talked to him.
We hyped up the stack a lot. If you were listening to the show, and no one played that stack.
No. I wrote Trubisky up in the stacks article. I full disclosure, I did say, pair him up with Allen Robinson. I thought that was the best way to go about it. We did talk about Taylor Gabriel on the show. Way too cheap. He had received double-digit targets the week before. We talked about how bad, the Bucs can be against a slot receiver. He plays a little bit out of slot at times. So it was just a, perfect scenario. I really think that, and I'm not predicting the similar outcome here for Josh Rosen, but I do think at that price tag and in this matchup, I do think there's plenty of upside to be had. So I have interest there. I am going to be rostering him this week. I'm not saying I'm going all in on him or I'm going to have a ton of exposure. Keep in mind, I do play far less lineups than Bobby. I kind of, keep it down to anywhere between 3 and 5 different unique lineups and spread those out amongst different tournaments. So, that being the case, I will have exposure to Josh Rosen in that, with those small amount of volume there for me. What else here at the quarterback position is standing out to you, Bobby?
At the QB position, Yeah, I really honestly, I think that we pretty much covered like the guys I actually have a ton of interest in. I think going back to a guy like Kirk Cousins versus Philly, I know Philly's pass defense hasn't been what it's been all year. I think that can be contrarian. I just don't like the price. Yeah, Mahomes, I hit Goff. I like Roethlisberger. Rosen's a good play, man. I seen Rosen yesterday, and I was like, he's cheap. San Fran runs like a ton of plays. They're very paced up. So not the worst play. That's pretty much what I got, though. I'm gonna play the two offenses. I'm gonna go with the offenses the quarterbacks from the offenses like Kansas City, like Minnesota, and just in what people will consider as bad matchups, and try to exploit that.
And I think that I mean, now that you mentioned that, we'll talk. I guess we could talk about this when we get into receivers. But Stephon Diggs, to me, is a very, very strong play this week. He has a phenomenal matchup against Jalen Mills, who is ranked as one of the worst, corners this week. At Pro Football Focus, I don't think Diggs is going to have any ownership whatsoever here. I really do not think that he's going to garner any ownership. So I do like him quite a bit. But before we get into the receivers, and I'm only pointing it out because you mentioned your love here for
5% for Diggs.
I'm sorry?
5% for Diggs.
Projected ownership?
Projected.
That's just silly. It's silly. We're talking about a game that has a 45.5 over under. Granted, compared to all the other games this week, is not great. But the Eagles' defense has not looked anywhere near what we've seen. And you mentioned this, last year and years past. I just think this is a smash spot for him. And if he's going to be 5% owned, I'll take that with a 30-point ceiling here in a really good spot. I think a game that they should be chasing points when you think of it. They should be chasing points because they're on the road here. But before we get to it's too cheap. It's $7K. It's too affordable. Yeah, 15 targets last week, 10 targets the week before that, 13 targets. Guy's a target monster. It's absurd. They have a bad offensive line. They're having trouble running the ball, so they're going to these passes, dinks and dunks. So I don't know. I'm on board with you. I actually think that's a phenomenal call on your end. Maybe something I've overlooked so far, but I'm glad we're talking tonight because now I can dig a little more into this matchup and potentially exploit this situation quite a bit here. Before we jump into running backs, and I'm gonna let you go early tonight on time. Don't worry, I know you got the game to go to. We got two questions here. So we have Sony Michel or Joe Mixon. I'm assuming this. Oh, well, no, I'm not assuming. Right under it says standard scoring. I'm going with Michel. I'm flat out going with Michel. I love Joe Mixon. I don't know how effective he's going to be his first game back. And yes, the Dolphins defense is nothing to be concerned about. We saw it last week. But I'm still going with Michel. I just think the game script is in his favor, and I think he's going to have a big game.
Yeah, I like Michel.
Yeah.
10 points at home. Belichick likes to try to keep Luck off the field. I know that for a fact because kind of led me to a millionaire maker.
That's the reason why you won the millionaire maker, man. What was the running back? I forget now. What was the running back again? It was some guy that he played that week and I think retired the following week, right? One of those things. Jonas Gray.
That was pretty much what the thought process was that they were on the road and at home last year in the playoff and the year previously in the playoffs. Blunt had gotten so much usage because it just seemed like Bill didn't want the ball in the hands of Andrew Luck. And I think that's a possibility as well this year. And I think that not like that it's the same situation. I just think like he's of a similar mind. Obviously, maybe things have changed. Luck's not the quarterback that he was. But I just think that I think he will do his best just to kind of, if they get an early lead, just play keep away.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have to. That's the thing. But I just it's a Thursday night game. I feel like you'll want to not like get too many players injured. Like play it safe. These three-day weeks are tough on coaches.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And Ross.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I'm on board with you here with Michelle. I think that's the play. I do like Mixon. He was one of my. I had him probably ranked higher than most in my season-long league rankings for the season. But this week, I'll probably keep it safe here and go with Michelle. Talking about running backs, let's jump into. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. We have one more question. 12-team full point PPR. I need one of these three: Mike Williams, Allison, or Ryan Grant. I lean on Allison here, personally. There is that concern. He's still in the concussion protocol. But you know what? I'd be okay with if you can't get Allison, just go ahead and get Mike Williams in the lineup. It's a good matchup here. So I wouldn't play Grant tonight. Are you on board with me for that?
Yeah, I'm on board. I love Allison. I've liked Allison for like 2 years.
I've liked Allison pretty much every week since week 2 this year.
I drafted him in the football Diehards draft like way too early. I feel like they probably was like, they were like, who's this? They didn't use my draft. And I was like, Geronimo's going to be good. Man.
Yeah, he's a talented kid, man. He's a talented kid. And he's quickly becoming one of Aaron. I was going to say Brett Favre, but one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets here. All right, so let's get back to the running back talk here. What are you looking at from a roster construction this week? At least right now, it's Thursday. There's still some news that has to come out or whatnot. I'm seeing myself paying down at running back this week and paying up a receiver. Are you on the same page, or are you doing the opposite this week?
I'm getting girly in tournaments.
So you're okay. So you're going to be playing Gurley in tournaments for sure.
I don't think the way I looked like when I seen the Diggs value, I just like that Diggs value. I'd rather pay $2K less for Diggs and like take the shot on the less ownership and him getting not outscoring Antonio Brown, but getting close enough. I would say.
I agree. I just think that there's a lot of appealing options there under the 6K range. TJ Yeldon is facing the Chiefs defense, who has really struggled. There's no Leonard Fournette this week. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's done a pretty decent job when he's playing. I do think, when you look at the Chiefs, they've allowed the 5th most rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. They've also allowed 385 receiving yards, if I'm not mistaken. That is the most by any defense this year. 2 receiving touchdowns to the position, and they're allowing the most DraftKings fantasy points per game here against running backs. So I do think this is a pretty favorable spot for Yeldon, and I don't think game script is going to affect him simply because he can catch passes out of the backfield. He's only 5,600, and he should be on the field quite a bit. Tough to ignore that. Are you fading him here? Are you not interested at all?
In Yeldon?
Yeah.
No, I'm interested in cash games, definitely.
You don't see the upside in tournaments here for him?
I would just rather, if everyone's going to be paying up at receiver, I'd rather pay up at running back and go low at receiver, and I don't think that he'll end up fitting that build. You're not getting Gurley at a much less of an ownership as he's going to be 22% owned from what I'm looking at right now, but I'd rather be above the field on that if I'm going to have more leverage, because people aren't going to be above the field on him and they're going to go to Antonio Brown and Julio.
But do you think Julio Jones is going to be popular? Because I don't.
You don't think Julio's going to be popular?
I think people are going to look at Calvin Ridley's numbers, 6 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He's 5,800. Julio Jones hasn't found the end zone all season long. He's 8,500. If I'm looking at it in that perspective, why not pay 5,800 for Calvin Ridley?
Because he's going to have some positive regression.
You and I know that, but people that do you think most of the people are looking at that as well?
Yeah, I think that. I don't know. That's tough to say. I would say so. Julio's going to get in the end zone eventually.
Yeah, I honestly think it's this week. Just because I was looking at ownership projections here for the receivers, and really is up there. He's 13 to 16%. and I'm looking for Julio, and he's about the same 13 to 16%. So I guess it does, scratch it out here. But it's tough, it really is tough. You said you have 5%. I don't know where you're getting that. I have on Fantasy Labs 13 to 16% for Stephon Diggs.
I'm getting it off Roto Grinders, 5% for Diggs.
And what are you getting for Julio Jones? And
I'm getting 7. Huh? What are you getting? 17.
I'm getting 13 to 16. How about Calvin Ridley? Because I think that's very important.
Ridley's pretty cheap. He's at in terms of ownership, he's pretty depressed at 7%.
Okay, all right. So Labs has it a little bit different here, which it is worth noting.
I think Labs is better to go off of, to be honest.
What do you think? Because I like Melvin Gordon a ton, and I like Christian McCaffrey a ton. I really don't mind, taking that approach that you're talking about and paying up for running backs and paying down for receiver. I just haven't found, and now when we get into receivers, I am going to ask you what the value you're finding here. But if I'm paying up, I agree. Gurley's pretty much a must, or not a must play, but someone that is a fine play any week, just like Kamara has been the first 4 weeks. I don't know if it's going to be the case now with Mark Ingram back. Melvin Gordon to me is in a phenomenal spot. I like this matchup. His involvement in the passing game is just absurdly high. He has such a high floor here and plenty of upside. So I do like him plenty in this matchup. Christian McCaffrey coming off a bye week. How do you feel about his ownership? Because typically, at least in years past, I don't know if this is going to be the case this year as people are more informed and people are learning more. But at least in years past, players coming off a bye would normally see a lower ownership that following week. Do you think someone like McCaffrey is going to be popular this weekend? And are you interested in him against, I think, the Giants here?
I'm definitely interested in him versus the Giants. I have him around 22%. Where does Labs have him?
I think they have him up there in the 21 percentile. Let me check here. Yeah, so he is 26 to 30%. He's going to be popular. And this is why I kind of have leaned the other way, because they have the highest three projected guys are McCaffrey, Gordon, James Conner, and then right after is, as far as ownership is concerned, is Todd Gurley. So it is a situation where you kind of have to, trust your sources as far as ownership is concerned. But I do think this is a week where ownership is going to be scattered because there is a lot of high over-unders. And I do think there is running backs in phenomenal spots and high-end running backs in phenomenal spots. And I also think there are high-end receivers in really, really good spots. So I think ownership is going to be a little bit more spread out. It's just a matter of what you feel more comfortable with. So far, my initial lineup construction is paying up at receiver. However, I do like Melvin Gordon. Again, you've heard me say this several times tonight, and I do like Melvin Gordon a ton. I think Christian McCaffrey is in a smash spot here against the Giants. So those are two top, price running backs that I'm focusing on this week.
Yeah, no, Melvin Gordon's in an absolutely phenomenal spot, it looks like. Yeah, I like Gurley as the tournament pivot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Its ownership's going to be high anyway. I just like that. I like the Rams offense in this situation.
What do you think about someone like David Johnson, who I don't think is going to get a ton of attention? His price is going down pretty much every week here. He's 6,300, a little bit more involved in the passing game in recent weeks. 4 targets and 4 targets. I know week 1 he had a ton of targets, he had 9. But then week 2 against the Rams, only 2 targets. They're giving him the ball more often. He got 22 rush attempts last week. He found the end zone. He has scored basically in all but 1 game this season. I don't know.
How many receptions did he have last week?
He only had 3 receptions. He had 4 targets, though. But I believe Josh Rosen only attempted, I think it was 27 passes. It wasn't a ton. He didn't throw a ton. Oh, man. That is a good sign. That is a good sign. I don't know if he agrees we have to ask him again: is it Josh Rosen or is it David Johnson who he's on board with? We need to find this out.
I think it's Rosen, but we'll find out pretty. No, I think it's David Johnson, but we'll find out pretty quickly.
So yeah, any thoughts there on Johnson as a tournament play here?
Yeah, I like Johnson. I like Johnson in cash. Is that like out of the realm of possibility? I mean, they are.
I think he's underpriced, so I think you're getting a great, bang for your buck, and it's a good point per dollar play. I think, when you look at it, with his ability. Yeah, that's the only thing where the spread might not be favoring, that analysis. But when you look at what he is and how talented of a running back he's been throughout his career, I do think he's underpriced here. So if you're looking at,
how about Beathard?
No, but you can talk to me into some Matt Breida here.
Really?
Yeah. Cardinals have been pretty bad against the run. I pointed this out last week. They've allowed 7 rushing touchdowns this season. I believe the most of any defense to running backs. Who was it that they played against last week that looked absolutely phenomenal against them? I think it was it Mike Davis?
Yeah, Mike Davis.
I mean, who is Mike Davis?
Mike Davis almost won me some big money last year. So I'm not going off the. I still want. I was like a second place finish in a Monday Thursday because of Mike Davis. So.
Oh really? Okay, so I won't talk too bad of it, but 21 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Seattle. I mean, not against Seattle. I'm sorry, against Arizona here. I don't know, man. Breida sounds pretty interesting to me. When you look at how bad this run defense really is, he is questionable, but I don't know, man. I think there's upside here, potential touchdown equity. If he doesn't play, I'm going to be strongly contemplating Alfred Morris in this matchup. I really am. Obviously, I think there's a limited upside, but his price tag and the matchup itself is just so good. Talk to me about Aaron Jones, 4,300. I think it's a smash spot for him. Detroit sucks against the run. They've allowed the most rushing yards. I don't even think it's close. I really do think this is a game where, due to some of the injuries on this receiving core for the Packers, they're going to rely a little bit more on the run and less on Aaron Rodgers, especially that he's playing at less than 100% clearly, like we've seen. Any interest in Aaron Jones?
I like Aaron Jones. I think he's in a real good spot. I think you can use him in cash. I know they have a split backfield, but it looked like he was going to get the majority of the touches. I think this game is very interesting. I
love this game.
Yeah, this might be – if this game goes overlooked in terms of ownership projections on Thursday, I might be pounding this game because it looks like it could be a shootout. It has the potential makings of definitely hitting the over. So
I don't hate the fact of going Aaron Jones with the running attack here and hoping that, Packers are playing with the lead and they're running it back with a stack with someone like Stafford and well, I was going to say Golden Tate, who's seeing a ton of receptions a ton of targets, or maybe running it back with someone like Marvin Jones. He's super cheap. He leads this team in air yards, not by a ton. I know Golladay is right behind him, but he does lead the team in air yards, which is something that stands out to me here. I wouldn't hate that. And I agree. I think this game could go overlooked. I do want to wait a little bit more, though, before making the decision on this game on some of that receiver injury news for the Packers. I think that's going to make a significant difference. And we could see some lines jumping around. I know Devontae Adams also appeared on the injury report today, so it is worth noting all that.
Yeah.
The last guy I want to talk about before we move to wide receivers, Dion Lewis. 17 targets in the 2 games that Marcus Mariota has started this year. I do think this is a good matchup for him against the Bills. I don't know if the game script really plays into his favor. I think it might play a little bit more into Derrick Henry's favor. But when you look at this offense, when it's flowing at its best, it's with Dion Lewis on the field. So I think if you and I can notice that, because I know you've noticed that as well. If you and I can notice that, I think the coaching staff can notice that as well. So I do think Lewis is in a really good spot here. I don't think he's going to garner a ton of ownership. So I don't know. I have interest in him. Any interest there?
No, I like him. I liked him from when I looked at him. He was one of the first running backs that I kind of picked out. Yeah, just kind of went away from. We started talking about other stuff, and I kind of just lost focus.
Yeah, that's fine. Now let's talk about the receivers here. We already talked about. I mean, all right, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, the core play of ours, priorities. I have a lot of interest in someone like Keenan Allen at 7,800. I think Stephon Diggs is super sharp at 7K. Smith-Schuster, 7,500. You know, his price is going up. He's, to me, become an elite receiver in the league. So I still think he's fairly priced considering what he's capable of doing. Talk to me here at this position. What are you looking at? What are you targeting? If you're paying up for running backs, you need value here. Where are you going for value?
Dude, there's like a couple of good guys that I think that it's value just in rostering Diggs and that being like the split off the ownership. But no, like we talked about Marvin Jones, 4,700 in a game they should be playing from behind. Like I love that spot. I think that's a great spot.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be playing him. And it is a volatile play. I would not suggest him in cash games. All right, guys, let's get that clear. No cash games here. But this is a potential favorable game script. And he has had at least 6 targets in every game. He leads the Lions in the air yards. Huge playability, has 2 touchdowns for the season. I think way too cheap for what he's capable of doing. I agree with you. I think that, he's a really, really good play. Talk to me about D.D. Westbrook. I mentioned to you, when we talked about Bortles, I'm favoring D.D. Westbrook here. And if I'm not playing T.J. Yeldon, I really do want to have exposure to Westbrook.
I think Keelan Cole is probably the guy that Keelan Cole and Moncrief are my 2. I know everyone's going to be on D.D., but I missed on D.D. once, so I'm kind of still butthurt on D.D.'s performance. So I'd rather go the other way, even though D.D. does lead them in air yards.
Yeah. Now, all right. So what else are you looking at here at the receiver position? I think that there's Calvin Ridley at 5,800, Cooper Kupp at 6,300. I think are fine plays. I have plenty of interest on Corey Davis for Tennessee against Buffalo. If I'm not playing Dion Lewis, I do think Corey Davis makes a ton of sense. 15 targets last week. Leads the team in targets. The kid is very, very talented, has, in my opinion, a lot of upside. What are your thoughts here for him?
I like Corey Davis. Obviously, target monster. It's pretty cheap. Well, not as cheap. Where is he at? I'm sorry. Yeah, he's
6,400.
400 compared to like the other guys. He's cheap. No, the matchup's great too. So I'm definitely not against it. It's just the game script should go more favor the running backs than it should Buffalo. But it's also always tough to play in Buffalo. So I don't know. Yeah, I like Corey Davis. This game probably be closer than what people think. I know the last time I made this call, the Chargers destroyed them.
Yeah. But, I mean, pretty much there. I'm very bullish. Again, I'm very bullish on Julio Jones. I don't want to say all in, but I'll probably be – not probably. I will 100% be overweight on him this weekend, without a doubt. I just think he's in a smash spot. I like Juju Smith-Schuster quite a bit. I think Keenan Allen is in a good spot. If you're paying up, Diggs also. Aside from that, we talked about some of these value guys that we're targeting. So I think we're both pretty much on the same page here as far as that's concerned. Let's jump over the tight ends. What are you thinking here at the tight end position? How are you approaching this position this week?
Like I said, I like Kelsey. I like Ertz. I know people love to pay down, but I don't mind paying up a tight end this week. I like Jimmy Graham. Anyone you have an opinion on?
You know, I've gone to this guy before and he's let me down, and he has been pretty much on a downward spiral since I suggested him in week 3, and that's Austin Hooper. Only 6 targets in the last 2 games. I think that's Calvin Ridley has, Pittsburgh sucks against the tight ends. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Pittsburgh is just awful against tight end. And if you're trying to get a low-owned player in this game that has upside in a good spot, it's Austin Hooper. I don't think he's going to garner any ownership. So I don't mind if I'm stacking this game in order to get some, low ownership. I'm going to play some Hooper. I like him. He's $3K. I like Ricky Seals-Jones. I mentioned him before as well when I talked about Rosen. I do think this is a really good spot for Seals-Jones. Niners haven't been all that great against tight ends this year, so they've allowed quite a bit of touchdowns there. So I do think this is a good spot for him. I don't see myself paying up, honestly. If I do, I'm going to go to Kelsey. I know it's not the best of matchups, but he has so much upside, and I do think the matchup is going to scare people away here from him. Any thoughts there on him? I know you said you kind of like him, but is he someone that you're going to pay up for this week?
I think in tournaments, I know people aren't going to want to pay up. They're going to go to the Hoopers. They're going to go to stuff like that. But Jalen Ramsey, who's he got? Watkins, or does he have Tyreek? I kind of hope he has Tyreek, to be perfectly honest, and that'll just depress the ownership even more. I think that that Kelsey will be heavily involved. I don't mind paying that price versus the Jags. Last year, Vance McDonald in the playoffs absolutely destroyed the Jags team. Targets are kind of funneled there. This team likes to run their offense through the tight end, so through Kelsey. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. If I'm paying up, it's going to be Kelsey. I don't see myself paying up this week for tight end. That is, so I am finding myself with Austin Hooper or Ricky Seals-Jones here but I think both have great matchups. The defenses. Let's just briefly go over this. I know you got to get going, man. I don't want to hold you up anymore. I for some reason, I find that the Ravens are way too cheap at 2,800. I know they're playing the Cleveland team that has talent on offense, but this Ravens team just looks to be getting better and better each week defensively. They held their own in Pittsburgh last week against a pretty potent offense. I don't know, man. 2,800 just seems too cheap for me. I don't know if this is a trap or what it is, but do you like the Ravens this week?
I like them. I think that's a good price.
I mean, I don't know if I was missing something. It just seems way too cheap. I think they should be priced up a little bit higher this week than they are. Any other defenses? I mean, honestly, that's kind of, I just keep landing there because the price is so good that I find myself just pretty much smashing the all-in button with the Ravens defense here.
Yeah, no, I get it. I hate to go all in on a defense, but I don't know. Cleveland's tough. I don't know. San Diego. No, that isn't going to work either.
The Jets are interesting. They're 2,600. They're at home and they play Denver. Keenum is just terrible at the quarterback position. So the Jets are intriguing.
You hate Keenum?
Oh, don't tell me you want to play Keenum.
No, not at all. I'm just saying.
I mean, he's let me down so many times this year that I just gave up on him.
Week 1, he smashed. What happened?
I don't know. He became Keenum. I mean, week 1 he smashed, and then Keenum reality kicked in, and we've seen what we've seen out of him the last 3 games. Didn't he struggle immensely against the Raiders defense? Yeah. And what should have been a great spot for him.
Wow, defense is kind of tough this week.
I mean, he smashed against Seattle. And he couldn't even get it done against the Chiefs last week. 245 yards, no touchdown. He hasn't thrown a touchdown since week 1, man. Listen, lock the Jets in if you don't want to play the Ravens. But that's about it.
Honestly, I like Keenum.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say.
What do we get for Denver defense? What's the price tag?
Do you know that the Jets are ranked second in DVOA against the pass?
It doesn't matter. They're getting sacked. There's going to be sacks. All right, so I won't take Keenum, but I'll go Broncos D. Darnold will definitely.
I like the Broncos D as well. I agree with that call, but they're just a little bit more pricey here. They're 3,200. Yeah. But I do think that's one of the top options of defenses this week.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into this game by game on Sunday. Well, we kick off at 11. We pretty much go through the entire slate and talk about with updated news. Before we get going tonight, before you go and enjoy your game, we have a question here. What about Ty Montgomery with all the wide receivers?
Whoever said that?
I love that call. I love that call.
I was reading that.
Listen,
that's a good call.
If you look at my week 5 rankings over at footballdiehards.com, my long shot of the week is Ty Montgomery. Why? Because of his ability to catch passes in the backfield. I don't think anyone's looking in that direction. Just know, if you are playing him, it's coming with a ton of built-in risk. Just because you do not know. We do not know how involved he's going to be. The upside is certainly there. The ownership is going to be on the floor. However, there is plenty of upside. So if you are willing, if you have that risk tolerance where you're okay with the volatility there, I strongly suggest him in tournaments, especially large field tournaments. So I do like that call quite a bit. And I know based on your reaction, you do as well, right?
No, I think that's a good call.
All right. Well, before we get off tonight, Bobby, tell everyone they can follow you on social media. I know you do Instagram and you do Twitter.
Bobby Gomes DFS on Twitter and Instagram. Yep.
And I am at Armando_Marsal on both Instagram and Twitter. Guys, we will be on Sunday at 11 a.m. talking the Sunday slate, and Bobby and I will be pumping out our podcast tomorrow evening. We'll also break down game by game there. So looking forward to it, and we will see you guys on Sunday morning.